Hello guys, and welcome to Season 3 of the Penny Podcast. I'm Andrés. I'm in 12th grade, and I am the Coppell Student Media Web Producer.
I'm Sarah Wu, I'm in 12th grade, and I'm a staff writer. If this is your first time tuning in the Penny Podcast, it is a weekly podcast that incorporates entertainment and interview elements. So for the CSM highlight, this week our CSM highlight goes to Camila Villarreal for her article, Being Gay is Not a Trend, published under our opinions section. I'll recite the opening to her article. Being queer is not like being straight. When you are straight, you never worry about whether people will leave you because of who you cannot help but love or hear the words, "Okay, just don't hit on me, please," when you come out to someone for being straight, which you would never do anyway. Most importantly, you never wonder or worry whether your parents will be ashamed of you or ignore you as if they're avoiding a problem. What I really loved about this article was that she was very clear as to how she felt during this time, and she was very revealing and raw about her feelings, and I feel like it is important to do this, especially in journalism, to be very open about how you feel about these issues and to speak out about them and to shed light especially on the fact that people in this community are going through a struggle that many may not understand. To read the rest of Camila's piece, head over to coppellstudentmedia.com.
This week on One Shot, Tyler the Creator took home his first ever Grammy Award for Best Rap Album with Igor, his 5th studio record. On the same night, Billie Eilish broke records and became the youngest solo artist to win Album of the Year for her debut, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Sarah, what is your opinion on Billie Eilish's big win?
You know, it's interesting because I did hear lots of different things. I heard there was a controversy because Billie actually didn't want to win, especially near the end, because she felt that maybe she would get lots of bad reactions from winning all these awards, because there are also plenty of other great nominees. And so, I mean, she seems to be really happy with the awards she has won, but it seems to have brought up a lot of issues on both sides on whether it was deserving or whether it's overrated, underrated. But personally, I believe Billie Eilish deserves all her awards, and she is a great musical artist.
I agree, and she's very young, so we don't know what trajectory her career is going to take from now, so that's going to be awesome to see her grow.
Right.
The following Penny Podcast interview was conducted in an honest and open environment. All of the opinions held by our guests are not representative of the podcast's political or social beliefs. We are here to give a platform for anyone and everyone with a voice. Thank you for understanding. Now, what is your full name, grade, and favorite color?
Hi, my name is Lily Lee. I am currently a junior, and my favorite color is white.
Oh, good pick. What are some aspects of Western culture that aren't usually found in Asian culture?
Well, I think Western culture is known for its openness in general. People are always greeting each other with big hugs, whereas in Asian culture, it's all about being respectful to your elders. So there's a culture in Asia where you're not supposed to look at adults in the eyes. You're supposed to look down, especially to your teachers. Whereas in Western culture, they're very open. Also, in terms of culture, you have like the LGBT, in Western areas and Western countries, they're more open about that type of stuff. Whereas in Asian culture, they're more strict in terms of what you can or what you can't do.
And has your Asian culture followed you throughout your entire life? And have you always been comfortable with your cultural background?
So my story as an immigrant, when I was 5 years old, I moved to America, and ever since then, I've become essentially a Korean American. And so while I am Korean, I would still define myself as American because I've truly grew up here. And when you're like 3 years old, you don't really understand what's going on. And so I think over time I just developed more from the Western American culture. And have I felt happy with my cultural background? Well, I think I really enjoyed being Korean and American at the same time. Having double identity allows me to have a more diverse background and a diverse experiences that I could share with others, and having different perspectives on different issues from the Western culture versus the Asian culture, and being able to experience different cultures such as different holidays. Even though I am living in America, I could still experience those two cultures. I think that's great.
Awesome. Would you say that it makes you a more open person in general?
Yes, I would say so.
Awesome. So I know that this was a hot button issue for some time, but I'd love to hear your take on it. Do you think that Asian representation in modern media has improved or gotten worse?
In my opinion, I think it has definitely improved. You have people represented in modern media, such as Aquafina. You have like films such as Parasite from Korea that's winning like a lot of awards. You have like lots of Asian comedians. You got like Ken Jeong, you know? And so a lot of these people in the past, Asians weren't as well represented, and sometimes they would fill in like American people, like Western people, to fill in like the Asian role. But now you see like real Asian people filling in those roles, and I think that's great.
Right. And among these pieces of media, do you have a favorite piece of Korean media specifically?
So are you talking about like media in America portrayed like with Asians, or like media in Korea portrayed by Koreans?
I would say it's just like all-encompassing. Like you could mention like people in Korea that have made an American influence, or maybe even American people that made a Korean influence.
Yeah. For me, in terms of Korean media, I love watching Korean dramas. In terms of American media, I would say I fell in love with all like the Asian comedians. They're so funny and they're so relatable to me because I shared a similar experience with them.
K-dramas, that's what they're called? Yeah. Where do you find them if you want to watch them?
I think you can watch it online through there's like websites kind of like Netflix, and so even though I'm overseas, that doesn't mean that I can't watch it, because of all the globalization and everything, that I can still watch it no matter where I am.
Awesome.
And do you feel a type of pressure, you know, as a Korean American to be or act more Korean in a sense?
Yes. For me, especially when I go to a place with a lot of Koreans, even in America, so like if I go to church where there's a lot of Koreans, a very Korean American community, I feel pressured to be as Korean as everyone else. For example, I feel like I have to be better at speaking Korean and communicating through my actions, like my behavior should be more Korean. So yeah, I would say that I do feel pressure.
Now, where do you feel the most comfortable in terms of being able to express your culture?
Well, I think school is one, but the place that I can truly express it would probably be, like I mentioned, like at church, where there is a strong Korean American community. At school, I feel like it's a lot more diverse, and also some people may not understand your culture because, you know, everyone has different backgrounds and they're from different cultures, and so I totally understand if they don't understand, or if they're not as open to your culture. But I think if you go to a place where there are a lot of people who do share the same cultures, it's a lot easier to express yours.
How does the rise in Korean culture these days make you feel?
For me, I feel a sense of pressure and a little bit uncomfortable, while at the same time I feel very proud to be Korean as well. For me, I feel sometimes pressured because in Korean media and Korean culture, you see the rise of K-pop. And even though there's so many people, even in America, who fell in love with K-pop, I, for one, am not as strongly interested in Korean pop culture, and so it's a little difficult for me to be able to like relate to people who are interested in the Korean culture. And so it can make me feel a little uncomfortable because I feel like I'm not Korean enough to help other people or to tell other people about my culture. But also I'm very proud because it's nice to know that even though I come from a tiny country called South Korea, it's still being represented in even the biggest countries like America.
What are your thoughts on K-pop? Like specifically groups like BTS?
For me, I am personally not as well. I'm not as well knowledgeable about K-pop because I just never really had a strong interest. I come from a background of classical music, and American pop culture and worship music, and so for me, K-pop is, even though I'm Korean, it's still a little foreign to me, and I really wish that other people who may be listening to this podcast can understand that just because, you're Korean doesn't mean that you have to be this 100% Korean. You can always have different interests, and it doesn't matter your background. Everyone can be different and diverse.
And in Asian culture, it is pretty common to see these academic standards being held for certain people. And for you personally, do you feel like your future, you have a good idea of what it would look like in terms of higher education, or maybe what you're gonna do with your career and whatnot?
Well, I think we go to a high school where there's a majority of Asian cultures being represented and Asian backgrounds, and it is a stereotype that Asian parents tend to be more strict, especially when it comes to grades. For me, I actually didn't come from a family who expresses those concerns about you have to get perfect grades and stuff. But regardless, I still have the internal pressure to do well, and but also because I was raised in American culture where it's a lot more free and you don't have to stress as much, it also helps me because I balance that internal stress with the knowledge that it doesn't have to be this perfect way, this perfect path. You don't have to be the smartest kid, you don't have to get the best grades. So having that balance kind of makes me feel better, especially when I approach schoolwork. In terms of higher education, I think that I really just want to go to where I'm most passionate about, because at the end of the day, you only live once, and I really want to pursue something that I'm truly interested in, not what everyone else tells me to do, but what I really want to do and what I want to make out of my life.
It's good. Would you like to eventually return to Korea and settle down there?
Well, because I came to America when I was so young, I really don't have any perception of what Korea is, despite what I watch on YouTube or something. For me, I actually never been back to Korea in 11 years, and so I really don't know a lot about what Korea must be like right now. And so I can't really say whether I want to return and settle down there, because I just don't have enough knowledge of the country, of the culture, of the government, of the language to be able to be comfortable at this moment to just settle down there.
Yeah, it'd be a complete shift, honestly.
Exactly.
Special thanks to our guest Lily and my co-host Sarah. Thank you all for joining us in the 37th episode of the Penny Podcast. Links to the material we mentioned today can be found below, and see y'all next week. Woohoo!
Yay!
Today is Student Press Freedom Day. In the words of Student Press Law Center, today is a national day of action when we celebrate the contributions of student journalists and highlight the need to support their independence without censorship or threat to their advisors. We asked a few of our staff members what today means to them. First up is Camila Villarreal, a second-year staff writer who had this to say.
What student press freedom means to me is the ability to write what I think the world needs to hear. Whether that be a personal opinion or someone else's story, I'm allowed to publish it, and that's an amazing privilege all on its own. There is power in being able to take someone's story, put it into words on a page, and place that person in a spotlight where everyone deserves to be at some point in their life.
Next is Camden Southwick, a first-year staff photographer who had this to say.
Okay, so what Student Press Freedom Day means to me is just having the freedom to express whatever we want to say or, have pictures of without being slammed by any school officials or any rules that are just cracking down on us because maybe it's a bit too controversial or something like that. And just being able to post and be able to talk about whatever we, not just what we want, but whatever concerns the people or our community around us.
Following is Jillian Moore, a first-year staff writer who had this to say.
Student press freedom to me means the ability to publish all opinions and all points of view, no matter how diverse or how obscure they might seem. Everybody has a voice and everybody has an opinion to share, and I think that being in a position to publish those is a really unique opportunity. I also like the ability that student press freedom allows to share both news, good and bad. And I think that a lot of times we focus on only sharing good news, but when we share bad news, it has the ability to connect people through the news that we're sharing. And so I think that being part of student press freedom and publishing all sorts of opinions, whether they're good, bad, public opinions, private opinions, allows a way to unite and connect different people.
Lastly is Alishba Javed, a first-year staff writer who had this to say.
What Student Press Freedom Day means to me is having a platform to express an opinion or someone else's opinion and not be afraid of someone censoring it or it being shut down. We are really grateful to be able to keep not just our government in check, but our school in check. Or if we want to share something and that something is a problem going on in our school, we can talk about it and we can fix it. We can spread awareness, we can shed light on certain things. And we have that power, which we shouldn't take for granted.
Thank you guys, and we hope you had a nice Student Press Freedom Day.